Pedro Pascal is getting dragged online for Fantastic Four, and it's not about his acting.
I think I speak for the entire Marvel community and for those in the Marvel community that are too afraid to admit it when I say this, but as soon as we all saw Julia Garner's female Silver Surfer, we all thought the exact same thing.
We always ask, man, why does this keep happening? Why does Pedro Pascal keep getting cast? Why do executives in Hollywood keep casting Pedro Pascal?
Julia Garner, yeah, people are big mad that she's a new Silver Surfer. So let's break it all down because the film's not even out yet and the internet is in full meltdown mode.
You got me. But seriously, me and you know what we got to do. We got to talk about all the nonsense that's been going on around the female Silver Surfer.
Marvel isn't just dropping the ball anymore, they're launching it into orbit and calling it strategy. What was supposed to be a bold reset for the entire franchise now feels like a desperate sprint. Marvel Studios is betting everything on a film that was meant to revive their legacy, but instead, it might be the one that finally seals its downfall.
Hola, México. ¿Están listos? Bring it in, bring it in, bring it in.
Wow.
Queremos mucho a todos.
Fantastic Four. First Steps is spiraling out of control. Emergency reshoots just weeks before its release, disastrous test screenings leaking online, and now a full-blown backstage crisis. At the center of it all, Pedro Pascal. Sources say he's livid after Marvel axed his emotional highlight from the film, a 6-minute fatherhood monologue delivered mid-cosmic showdown. Why the cut? Reportedly, Marvel refused to digitally remove his mustache for the flashback sequence. And that was the last straw.
Pedro Pascal mustache. You know what? I'd like to talk about the mustache. I think today's the day. You see this. This is powerful.
Clean shaven 5 days ago.
This is powerful facial. This is facial hair. This looks like you're undernourished. I actually was doing a play before Narcos started shooting, and the boss came to see the play, and he was like, keep the stash. And I was like, okay. And now people are like, don't ever get rid of your mustache. You look like my grandmother without it.
This isn't satire. It's actually happening. And somehow, it gets worse. One of the film's pivotal scenes featured a gender-swapped Silver Surfer levitating midair, delivering a preachy TED Talk on emotional labor, while Reed and Sue clashed over their parenting styles. It was meant to be the movie's emotional core. Instead, early audiences couldn't stop laughing. What was supposed to be a powerful, heartfelt moment turned into an unintentional punchline.
A lot of fans were really surprised to find out you were playing a Silver Surfer. Throughout the process, I wondered if there was anything that really surprised you about your role in the project.
I mean, just how big it is. It's such a big universe, and I feel so grateful that I just get to be like a little part of it, to be honest. And yeah, everybody on that job, I think the casting of the four is phenomenal, and they're so wonderful, and Matt Shackman's amazing. So I'm very excited. Yeah.
Marvel, once the gold standard in cinematic storytelling, has somehow turned a $200 million blockbuster into a therapy session with lasers. And at the center of this unraveling mess, Pedro Pascal, caught in a creative catastrophe so chaotic, even die-hard fans are stepping back and asking the same thing. What happened to the MCU we used to love?
David Tennant wanted to play Reed Richards, but Marvel picked Pedro Pascal instead. At London's MCM Comic-Con, Tennant shared his hope to star as Mr. Fantastic in the Fantastic Four: First Steps. He praised Pascal, saying, "If it has to be someone, I'm very happy it's Pedro Pascal." Now fans are counting the days to the film's July 25th release, excited for this new take on the Marvel classic. Could Tennant have taken the superhero role to new heights? Well, the wait is on. Fantastic Four hits theaters soon.
July 25th, 2025. The date Marvel circled in blood red ink. This was supposed to be the rebirth of the MCU. The turning point. Fantastic Four. First Steps wasn't just another title in the lineup. It was the cornerstone of everything that came next. A new timeline, a new tone, a full reset after the chaos left behind by Eternals, the Marvels, and Quantumania. But instead of a triumphant return, fans are watching a slow-motion implosion.
Now you think Fantastic Four will be high fives then?
And that is partially because Marvel's recent track record in the box office, right, with
the
Thunderbolts, and plus the Fantastic Four has
genre.
not been a strong IP in the theaters
Yeah.
thus far. So factoring all of that in, I do think Fantastic Four is going to perform a little bit worse.
So both would be a failure then.
I don't consider them failures.
That would be, if you,
I don't consider them failures. If they don't make $1 billion, that doesn't mean they failed.
You said 5. That's a failure.
I don't think that's a failure.
If you
It
look
has
at
made
the
us
track
money.
record of their movies, that would be bad.
This was supposed to be Marvel's grand slam, but it's already being compared to Fant Four Stick 2015, and the trailer hasn't even dropped. Internal leaks paint a grim picture, a script that's bloated, confused, and seemingly afraid of its own source material. There's no spark, no soul, just a patchwork of character moments that feel less like a story and more like a checklist of identities, slapped together to meet quotas instead of crafting something meaningful.
The Fantastic Four, the return of the MCU. What? Oh my god. They made Invisible Woman a girl this time on a team that contains 3 other men. I just can't believe it. Marvel has gone full wokey-yokey again. Like, bro, I don't understand the rage debate here. Are you upset Sue Storm may be the leader of the Fantastic Four? Are you upset Silver Surfer, the character everyone around the world totally cares about, is a woman now? Like, you would think that these woke YouTubers would be happy that they got what they wanted, a full-blown Fantastic Four with gender and skin-accurate actors, but even that, they somehow try to finesse wokeness into it.
Marvel used to be untouchable, but now it's spiraling. Fantastic Four. First Steps wasn't just supposed to be a comeback, it was meant to be the blueprint for the future of the MCU. Instead, it's looking like the franchise's final nail. Let's break it all down. Reed Richards isn't brilliant, he's emotionally drained. Sue Storm, not powerful, just distant and cold. Johnny Storm barely registers. And Ben Grimm might as well be an extra in his own origin story. The chemistry, dead. The stakes, confusing. The tone swings wildly between cosmic drama and awkward family therapy, and while Marvel's execs try to convince the world that this is the MCU's big return to form, behind the scenes, it's chaos. We've got Pedro Pascal refusing to shave. His mustache for a flashback? Why? Because allegedly, it breaks the emotional continuity of the character. Marvel disagreed. The scene, a 6-minute fatherhood monologue delivered in the middle of a cosmic argument, was cut after test audiences laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was ridiculous. Pedro reportedly lost it, called Kevin Feige, escalated it to Bob Iger, demanded the monologue be restored. To him, it was his Tony Stark in Endgame moment. To Marvel, it was dead weight, and that wasn't even the biggest controversy. Enter Julia Garner's gender-swapped Silver Surfer, renamed Shia, as a supposed nod to Shia LaBeouf. Instead of the quiet, philosophical herald we know, she floats into scenes like a cosmic therapist, lecturing Reed and Sue on emotional labor during a heated argument about parenting. A 6.5-minute monologue. Preachy, tone-deaf. Audiences laughed. Again, many thought it was satire. It wasn't. Marvel actually thought this would land. Test audiences were confused, uncomfortable, even hostile. One person said it felt like watching a BuzzFeed video with a $200 million budget. Another called it a parody of a Marvel film, yet without the self-awareness. And when the monologue flopped, Marvel panicked. The scene was cut. So was the Silver Surfer speech. But the damage was done. Audiences had seen enough to know this wasn't the return of greatness. This was a studio with no idea who it's talking to anymore. Suddenly, the marketing machine went silent. Interviews canceled, trailers delayed, budget slashed. The first teaser, stripped of dialogue, packed with slow-motion shots and dramatic music, was designed to distract, not impress. Insiders say Marvel is now in daily crisis. Meetings, emergency reshoots, last-minute rewrites, CGI overhauls. One exec reportedly called it gluing feathers to a sinking ship. And if First Steps fails, it won't be just another box office disappointment. It'll be a reputational hit that could cripple the MCU's entire future. This is no longer about a single bad movie. It's about what this movie represents. Back in 2015, Fant Four Stick flopped because of studio interference, bad direction, and lack of vision. But this time, this is Marvel. This is Disney. They had everything: budget, talent, time, and still, They delivered a film so confused, so empty, that even critics of the 2015 version are saying, at least that one didn't lecture me about gender roles in space. Because that's what this is. First Steps doesn't feel like a superhero movie. It feels like a PowerPoint presentation wrapped in shiny VFX. Reed Richards debating emotional availability instead of building a portal to another dimension. Sue Storm cold and detached. Johnny Storm invisible. Ben Grimm grunting in the background. There's no team, no spark, just names we recognize, going through the motions. And that's the real tragedy. The Fantastic Four are Marvel's first family. They were never supposed to be trendy, they were supposed to be timeless. But this film doesn't honor that legacy. It rewrites it, flattens it, in the name of being modern. Insiders. Say earlier drafts of the script leaned even harder into social metaphors. Parenting, gender, identity politics. It wasn't until test screenings went south that Marvel started trimming, but by then, it was too late. The foundation was already broken. Even the casting feels like a mismatch. Pedro Pascal is great in The Mandalorian, but he's no Reed Richards. Reed is supposed to be cold, calculated, a man driven by science, not feelings. Pascal plays him, like a tired motivational speaker. Vanessa Kirby is elegant, but her chemistry with Pedro? Reportedly non-existent. Johnny Storm barely exists in the story. And Ben Grimm is comic relief without the heart. This isn't a team. It's a checklist, and fans notice, because at the heart of Fantastic Four is family, not dysfunction. For the sake of it, but love. Strength, unity, and that's exactly what's missing here. Marvel didn't just miss, they missed with arrogance. They thought slapping big names and trendy themes on top of weak writing would be enough. It's not. Not anymore. The audience is exhausted. MCU fatigue is real, and First Steps might be the tipping point. Because if Marvel can't get this right, one of their most iconic franchises, what hope is there for Secret Wars? For X-Men? For anything? This isn't just a stumble. It's a red flag waving in the wind, warning fans that the MCU isn't evolving. It's unraveling. The most painful part? This film wasn't made by clueless outsiders. It was made by the very people who were supposed to protect the franchise. And it raises a chilling question. Was this always where the MCU was heading? First Steps is a symptom. The real disease is a studio that's lost its identity. Once the master of blockbuster storytelling, Marvel is now limping forward on brand recognition and nostalgia fumes. The old formula is gone. The new one? Confused, desperate, hollow. Where we once had clear heroes, clear stakes, and meaningful arcs. Now we have lectures. Now we have forced messaging. Now we have emotional continuity arguments over mustaches. And fans are tired. Not angry, tired. When people stop ranting and start walking away, that's when you know it's over. Because this was supposed to be the beginning of something legendary. Instead, it feels like the end. The moment fans look back and say, yeah, that's when I stopped caring. The MCU didn't collapse all at once. It eroded, piece by piece. But this is the cliff, and Marvel's jumping off it, hoping nostalgia will break the fall.